We absolutely have priestcraft in our religion. He said, thank you. And I said, but it's not the kind that you're thinking of. Is LDS Living just going woke with all the others?
They're definitely gone woke.
The COB, the administrators, they are not divinely inspired prophets. The divinely inspired prophets are.
All of a sudden for them to pull the plug and not even give me a reason why this was happening, doesn't that sound like woke to you?
We almost create our own priestcraft out of people that aren't asking for it. Yet here we are, all dancing around them, afraid to criticize them for going woke because somebody might say, oh, you're criticizing the brethren. That is not the brethren. Am I wrong?
In order for it to be priestcraft, it has to be something that is giving you fame and fortune, but at the same time is something that's not true.
All of the scriptural references used in this episode will be brought to you by scripturenotes.com. For a free trial to Scripture Notes, please visit the link in the description. I can't believe what I'm hearing. So, Rod, you say, I went to your conference. It was a ton of fun. It's like a libertarian convention. There's like a little bit of something for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Really is. Yeah, it's like it's like, honestly, it was a blast. I loved it. You had like Rachel Patterson in one room talking about like Middle Eastern theories and also birth rate and so on and so forth. And then in the main conference hall, you got Jonah Barnes in a Batman suit talking about the Apocrypha. And then you got like nice Ryan Nielsen there in between saying, would you like our annotated copy of the Book of Mormon? You know what I'm saying? It's like, it was totally fun and it was an absolute riot, right? But you were just saying that you had your advertising pulled by LDS Living because of some speaker. What happened?
Well, for about 12 years. So when I first got this whole Heartland thing kind of in motion,
okay,
how can I get this information out to people? Because I wasn't getting any help from Fair and Farms and Maxwell Institute and so forth. They were being less than helpful getting information out.
Okay.
And so I thought, well, I'm just going to put up my own money basically, and I bought a couple of ads in LDS Living magazine. Which is, if you know what LDS Living magazine is, basically you get.
I've seen a couple articles. Yeah.
Well, if you're a big Deseret book buyer, I mean, you buy a certain amount every year or month or whatever it is, you get an automatic subscription to LDS Living magazine, or you can actually subscribe to it either way. But it's really one of the only outlets left for LDS related businesses to actually get information out to people. So you have tour companies and so forth that advertise there. Anyway, long story short is that I was able to get a full page ad in LDS Living magazine on page 5, which is the first 4 pages are reserved for Deseret book, right?
Okay.
So I'm like the next one in, and it actually did really well for me. So I kept doing it, and it's not cheap. It's like $3,500 or whatever every episode.
Yeah, what is that, like 20 grand a year almost?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you have to contract for a year at a time, and you have to pay that basically, as you go. Anyway, so for 10 years, I had advertisements in page 5 on LDS Living magazine. And it was something that worked for me. It also includes, some online stuff with their thing, whatever. Anyway. And long story short is that I would advertise our legacy tours and travel, my tours that I host and so forth. Sometimes it'd be, a new book we're just coming out with, or a Christmas promotion or something like that. But twice a year, we would have these expos. And so I'd have a whole full page ad about who was going to come and speak at the expos. And so this has been going on ever since we started, since I started advertising. And about a year or so ago, I got a call from my account manager, really sweet gal named Tiffany. And she basically said, Rod, she says, I don't know how to tell you this, but basically, we're not going to let you advertise with us anymore. I said, what? What are you talking about? I'm a 10-year long customer at LDS Living magazine.
Yeah, what'd you do, bro?
What is there a reason? What's the reason? Well, we don't like some of the people that you have coming speaking at your expo. I said,
Okay,
okay, who
who?
is it? What is it something? What are they saying? Because we're very careful that we don't have speakers come and speak at our expo. We vet them pretty tightly to make sure that they're not saying anything negative about the church or its leadership or that kind of thing. We don't allow
Look,
that.
dude, I've met every kooky character at your freaking expo, but they're not crazy and they're not
Yeah.
cruel. Like, these are people within the Overton window of belief. And I literally heard one dude arguing that the Jaredites were in Ohio while another dude was arguing that they were actually in Seattle. I
Yeah.
don't care. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, none of them were trashing the Book of Mormon. So what's,
Or the
and
church
besides, with the crap
or its
Deseret
leadership.
book puts out, like, I mean, come on.
Vampire stuff. Yeah, that's important for people's salvation is to read vampire books and things, right? So,
Well, yeah, but
so
also,
I,
like, didn't
but
Papa
bottom
Osler's
line
book get
is
there?
that this
Okay.
is so I was just like, well, who is it? You know, because we can either tell them to mellow out or don't say it, or we can disinvite them. And we have dozens and dozens of speakers who would like to come and speak at our event.
Yeah, give
You
us
know,
a chance.
if somebody is not going to toe the line of what we're saying here, then they're out, and we got 50 people to replace them. So bottom line is that I said, so can you tell me what is it? And they said, no, actually, we can't tell you anything, but you can't advertise with us anymore.
So they'll tank your advertising and
What?
ruin your business model. So they'll tank your advertising
Yeah, they've LDS
because
Living has
you're
gone
not
woke.
nice enough. Or wait, this is such niceness culture on steroids. This is such a typical Utah niceness culture thing that they'll call you and say something you did wasn't nice enough for our brand. So we're going to tank your advertising with no legitimate forewarning, no due process. Now, I get it's a private institution. They're allowed to do whatever they want.
They can do
But at the
whatever
end
they
of the
want.
day, there's cultural norms here that should be expected. And there's some, respect that should be administered to somebody who's been paying you for 10 years, nearly $20,000 a year. You've walked away with $250,000 of my money. I think I deserve at least a phone call saying, hey, don't platform X or we pull your advertising.
Actually, I will have to say that in Tiffany's defense, it wasn't her. It was
No,
they got a
she's the
new
messenger.
manager in there about a year before that, and started actually kind of almost harassing me about well, you can't say this and you can't say that. They were monitoring everything that we were putting in our advertising and saying, oh, you can't. We want you to change this.
Is
We want you
LDS
to
Living
change
just
that.
going woke with all the others?
They're definitely gone woke. And so honestly, you know what? Facebook is a much better place to put your money now. And so they said, well, we're gonna take out a bunch of different advertisers, but as far as I can see, the only one that got basically canceled was us.
Wait, so who is the speaker that they didn't like that you were platforming? I gotta know.
They wouldn't say. They would not tell me. I asked. I asked. I did emails about it
Come
and so
on, you
forth.
got an idea. Who was it? You you
Now, well,
you were speculating before we started this podcast. Who
I
was it? Who do you think it was?
There's several
I'm
people.
not going to speculate.
Oh, come on. That's
Well,
the meat and the
you put
bones.
it this way. We've had, for example, we've had people who have been, integral to our event for a long time. In fact, before Operation Underground Railroad became a thing, Tim Ballard was speaking at our events.
Okay, yeah, but
And
that's
this was
also
about a year or
that's
so
pot
ago
and
when we
but
got
he hasn't.
canceled,
Hold on,
right?
hold on. When did they tank your advertising?
About a year ago.
Okay, well that whole hullabaloo happened more than a year ago, right? So it couldn't have been the Tim Ballard thing. Was it the Tim Ballard thing?
I don't know. I seriously don't know. But I'm
Because
thinking
when you had
that's
said,
one
I'm
thing.
just gonna say it. If you're not gonna say it, when you had said Eric Moutsos, you know what I'm saying? That seems to fit the timeline a little more. Do you think it was Eric Moutsos?
Well, let me tell you one thing I know about that because Eric Mutzos actually told me this, and that is that when he came to speak when we did our event at the Salt Palace in downtown Salt Lake,
Okay.
he got a friend. He got a call from a friend of his who's still on the force, on the Salt Lake Police Force, and basically said that when they found out that he was going to be coming to our event, they put out a some kind of they had all the cops in the Salt Lake area. They had a special thing basically saying, hey, he's going to be in town. He's a threat, and so forth and so on. And, and so they had heightened security around our event because he was there,
Eric
which,
Moutsos?
yeah.
Dude,
But
Eric
then you
Moutsos.
realize
What?
he just spoke like,
I've talked to Eric Moutsos on the phone. All right.
yeah,
I don't know him super well, but he's been amicable with me. He was one of the first guys to come out against Tim Ballard. So you'd think as a conservative radio host throwing Tim Ballard underneath the bus that the left would absolutely love him and the woke scolds and cry bullies would absolutely love him. But no, they hate anything that's not them or what AOC was tweeting about that week. So I've talked to him on the phone. And Eric Moutsos, he's like Utah's Dan Bongino, all right? He's not freaking, he's not some Richard Spencer. He's not some
right.
like insurrectionist here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's an ex-cop with, some very hard and fast conservative rules and a microphone that he speaks into. But I mean, the guy is like... He's somewhere between Newsmax and Fox News. He's not like, he's not really far out of the Overton window. That's what they got pissed at.
Well, again, they would not tell me. This is a complete speculation, okay? But I will say this though, and that Eric Moutsos did have he had about a 5-minute talk at one of President Trump's rallies down in Arizona. So he's definitely.
So is this like anti-Trumpism
made enough
or like
noise
what?
that he's gotten somebody's attention there somewhere. So, but yeah. So I don't know. We have.
So you never were told. Hold on. I'm sorry. Before we advance out of this, you were never told why, after 10 years of advertising with LDS Living, why they were taking your advertising away. They only insinuated it was because of speakers that you've allowed to speak at your convention, and even though you vetted these people as, pro LDS and passing whatever rubric of wholesome or whatever you want to call it, they would not tell you and do you the decency of telling you.
They said, we're going in a different direction.
Oh, dude, that is such garbage. So we'll tank your business model and we'll ruin your business, but we won't, in the name of niceness. In the name of niceness.
They haven't ruined it. That's the thing, is that they've canceled that, but we just put money into other
for a lesser person, it would ruin it.
And the thing about this is it's not about me. It never has been. It's about the information, the research. People like it. They feel a connection to it, and so they basically are willing to do the deep dives that it takes to actually learn this information. And that's my hats off to all of our Heartlander people who are out there. We appreciate you. We respect you. We try to bring the best information we can to you, and that's what we're doing. And unfortunately, we can't do it through LDS Living magazine, but we'll find other methods. The interesting thing is, Cardin, there's not really very many other advertising opportunities. The people who have information or businesses that aren't specifically Deseret Book. Where can you advertise?
Dude, I'm gonna try and pull out an ad on LDS Living. Let's see what they say. Let's see what they say. Is LDS Living officially owned by Deseret Book, or is it its own? So it is. It's a Deseret Book publication, huh?
Yeah, that's why the first 4 pages are always dedicated to Deseret Book and promoting, the books and things that Deseret Book are doing, which I think is, it's awesome, right? I don't have a problem with LDS Living and what they're doing, but what I do have a problem with is that after 10 years and having a long relationship with them, I had the same account manager for all 10 of those, 10 or 12 of those years, and then all of a sudden for them to pull the plug and not even give me a reason why this was happening, doesn't that sound like woke to you?
It sounds like that niceness culture, which is the weird and odd Utah derivation thereof. And see, what's so funny is like, these are the kind of stories that I would expect to come out of Los Angeles in 2017 to 2019. Because here by 2024, woke is broke in LA. And it has been for 2 years. Like this whole niceness culture thing, this is what silly suburban women in HR do when they call you up and snidely remark about, we're tanking your business model because HR, like that. This is just the cruelty of niceness culture on steroids that just nobody's buying anymore in LA. We kicked out all the suburbanites that love this. The jet fuel of wokeness, all right, is the awfuls, the affluent white female ultra liberals that have a wealthy conservative life by day, but by night blog like they're the most oppressed species on the freaking planet. And then they're activists as long as they can have a Starbucks in the morning.
And send them all to Salt Lake.
Yeah,
apparently.
no, we exported them all straight up to Utah, Idaho, Arizona, Tennessee, Florida. You guys can have them all because you want to know why? All their husbands that were paying for their activism said, all right, it's getting too insane here. My company's moving to North Carolina. My company's moving to Florida. My company is moving to Utah.
Texas.
We're packing our bags and we're moving to Utah. Are you coming with? All right. And they all went there. And once they arrived, everybody looked at them side-eye because they saw the California license plate and said, here's a plate of cookies. Welcome to the neighborhood. But let me tell you, you better not be voting the way you voted over there or we freaking slash your tires and burn your house down. See my bumper sticker that says, don't California my Florida? Yeah. My sister literally was shown like 7 of those when she moved to Florida. All right. And she's not even a woke scold at all. She's just a very nice, classy normie. All right. So I'm telling you, man, that like these are the kind of stories that you would get out of COVID where, well, for your health, we're going to ruin your business and force you to stay at home, even though you won't qualify for welfare, won't be able to visit your friends, and will just get fat and obese and depressed off of McDonald's and other companies, you know, and big pharma.
Or allowed to stay open.
Oh yeah, they're allowed to stay open, you know, but no, it's for your own good. And it's because we're such nice people that care. We're going to ruin your life. You know, and so this is like a story I would expect out of 2019 LA. But unfortunately,
this is the first time I've actually even said anything in public about that. Not very many people know. A lot of people have asked me, how come we don't see your ads in LDS Living anymore? I just say, well, it's because, you know, we're not doing it anymore.
But why do you have to cover for these people? I mean, if they didn't do you the decency, if they pull the plug on you and don't do you the decency of saying why, you don't owe them anything.
Yeah, but it's still Deseret Book, and people still look at it as you're attacking the church if you say anything negative.
No, but that's the cruel, stupid priestcraft of Mormonism that needs to be fought. Because frankly, I was talking with Josh Gailey the other day, right? And we were talking about the differences between our church. He's one of the, I think he's an apostle in the Church of Jesus Christ, which is what some people would call the Bickertonite sect of Mormonism, right? And we were talking about everything from tithing to how pastors are paid and so on and so forth. And I said, Josh, we absolutely have priestcraft in our religion. He said, thank you. And I said, but it's not the kind that you're thinking of. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, oh, how? Explain yourself. And I said, the biggest problem in our faith is that our true clergy, the priesthood, is actually wildly overworked and underpaid. Whether it's Russell M. Nelson, who's getting a living stipend equivalent to like a middle school principal, you know what I'm saying? Administrator or less, that has to literally take on a worldwide responsibility, both emotionally, spiritually, physically, metaphysically. Okay. Whether it's him on top or whether it's the volunteer bishop who's working a 25 to 35 hour a week volunteer position with zero pay and frankly, not even half enough thank yous. Like, it is the most thankless job in the planet being a bishop for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We do not venerate these people enough. We need like current bishop and ex-bishop's day. Let's move aside one of like the 14 pride days that we have to celebrate every year, or else, you know, the woke skull to LDS Living remind us how intolerant we are. And let's make a thankless bishop appreciation day. Okay. Or something like that.
I love this idea.
Yeah. So I look at that and I just think, you know who enjoys the status of a priest and receives the pay of a professional, of a private professional, that gets the public recognition of a priest and a clergyman, but gets the private pay that I think actually constitutes culturally priestcraft, is the bureaucracy in the middle of our church. You just said, I don't feel like I can criticize LDS Living for effectively what is unethical treatment according to all social norms in advertising and professional ethics, I believe, between an advertiser and a client, okay? You feel like you cannot criticize them. Why? Because people view them as priests. Like, we literally, when people say, like, don't criticize the brethren, I think it's real important that we actually define what is the brethren. I fully sustain, despite my my issues with some of his decisions, especially in some of his public donations, like Uchtdorf, for example. I fully sustain Uchtdorf as prophet and seer and revelator when it's him, and Russell M. Nelson as prophet, seer, and revelator, because I'm a team player in that regard, and I want to give these guys all the positivity, and I believe that you're not a member of the church unless you are sustaining, even frankly, in spite of some flaws that you disagree with. And I know Jim Bennett, who's on the opposite political spectrum of many people, feels the exact same way, and I'm sure Eric Moutsos, who's on the farthest right of the political Overton window, would probably feel the exact same way. All right, because we understand there's something bigger than all of us here, and we have to sustain these people. But you know who doesn't demand our respect are these paid employees, but they get it. We will offer to speak at a fireside as though he's a freaking general authority, any Curtin McConkie lawyer, to talk about defending the church as though like he's not just some paid employee. I'm sorry, the janitor at BYU is the same as one of these Curtin McConkie lawyers, just with a different certification, all right? At the end of the day, they're a paid employee. They do not hold priesthood keys. They are not receiving revelation for a stewardship. These are paid employees, yet here we are, all dancing around them, afraid to criticize them for going woke because somebody might say, oh, you're criticizing the brethren. That is not the brethren. Am I wrong? That's priestcraft in my mind. Getting to enjoy the professional pay with the status of the priest while not actually being one. That's the priestcraft in our culture. It's this cultural priestcraft where we dump this divinity upon people that aren't divine. They're supposed to be paid servants of the kingdom.
That is a good point to bring out, and again, it does make you kind of uncomfortable, but I very often have to differentiate between the leadership of the church, the brethren, and the administrative part of the church.
Yes, exactly, which is fair.
The administrative part of the church has a lot, some bigger issues going on there.
Yeah, like it's. I can wholeheartedly say, without feeling like I am betraying my temple recommend and, honoring and sustaining the brethren, I can say I think the legal department of our church is far too conservative, especially the insurance adjusters and everybody that tries to approve or disapprove activities. We don't let other 501c3s use our buildings enough, and we always cite stringent insurance policies and so on and so forth. And I think these people are hyper conservative to such a degree that they are inhibiting regular members from doing positive activities that would build the kingdom. Why? Because they always cite, oh, well, I don't know if our insurance is going to cover that. Well, go check, find out, and make it so it does. We've got enough money and we're hiring you for a reason, but we don't, nobody says that because we think oh, well, don't, the church office building, the COB, the administrators, they are not divinely inspired prophets. The divinely inspired prophets are. And that is one of the biggest things I think that is holding us back. And if it's affected you from being able to put a good conference on, your conference is fun. It's a riot. It's the single most pro LDS, which I don't even know if we're allowed to say that anymore. What are we supposed to call ourselves? Pro saints It's the most pro Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, pro Book of Mormon for sure. It's the most pro Book of Mormon conference I've been to outside of General Conference itself. And if they wanted to tank your advertising without telling you why and give you some woke scold niceness culture pity party excuse, shame on them.
When you talk about the priestcraft thing, that's the one thing that I've really had to do a deep dive on exactly what constitutes priestcraft, etc. Because a lot of people have this idea that if something is being sold to somebody, that constitutes priestcraft if it's within the church. But if that's the case, then Deseret Book, well, Sherry Dew as the CEO of Deseret Book would be I'm not saying this as a thing, but basically she'd be like the high priestess of priestcraft, because she and her organization sell more books and things to members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints than anyone else. And nobody is thinking that she's practicing priestcraft, because she's not. It's an educational thing. Nobody's forcing them to buy it. The other thing is with priestcraft, it has to be something that is that basically personally gives you fame or fortune kind of thing. But there's another part of it. It has to be something that's not true. In order for it to be priestcraft, it has to be something that is giving you fame and fortune, but at the same time is something that's not true. So when it comes down to the whole priestcraft question, being an administrator of Deseret Book, to me, isn't being paid to be an administrator of Deseret Book is not what makes it priestcraft, because being paid to be the temple engineer that keeps the temple functioning, that's not priestcraft. That's a necessary service that is part of the administration of the church. That's right.
It's when we culturally then turn around and dump the divinity of the prophetic mantle on these people that don't deserve it, that it's like we almost create our own priestcraft out of people that aren't asking for it. And it goes back to that original adage that where Catholics are the only people that say they have a prophet and nobody believes it, and they have an infallible prophet and nobody believes it. And Mormons are the only people that say we have a fallible prophet and nobody believes it. Like, Mormons create their own problems with this. It's not heaped on them from without. It's expressed and voluntarily given from within. So, okay. Anyway,
I find that there's a lot of administrative people, and also a lot of influence from even BYU and professors and so forth at BYU have an undue influence on the administrative arm of the church, which then pushes certain agendas. Like, for example, when I first started doing this, I would go and do firesides at ward buildings as long as I had the approval of the bishop or stake president. Everything was fine. and Mesoamerica advocates were going around and doing presentations all over the church and so forth, and their thing, and I was doing mine and so forth. But then they started to try to the Mesoamerica guys tried to get us shut down. So Wayne and I were not allowed to talk. They would actually call up the stake presidents and say, hey, these guys are preaching false things. They're practicing priestcraft, et cetera. And we'd have to say, whoa, wait, where's this coming from? Well, we can't tell you, but the call came from BYU. It's like, you kidding
Well,
me?
we'll get into Wayne May later, because I got some questions. I got some questions about your boy Wayne May. So
we love Wayne. He's awesome.
Okay, that's good to know. So all right. Well, let us know what you guys think. Let us know what you guys think. Was Rod treated unfairly? Is this, did he deserve what he got, or is this demonstrative of something more nefarious? So anyway, for this and more, check us out at wardradio.com.